All right, welcome back. And I know I took a little bit of time off, but I wanted to take some time with NASCAR Heat 4 and really get into that title, learn about it, learn about the AI, actually make some money so I could buy enough cars and staff to be able to play the game how I wanted to play it, make it a little bit more exciting. So here's what I've been doing over the past week. I have actually went through the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series, running the races, getting more money, buying cars, getting staff, and trying to figure out which combination of numbers works with each track to make it the most competitive. So you can see on the screen here, right now we're in the Truck Series, and I wish I had recorded my last race. It was the race right before the playoffs, and I happened to win that race by half a truck length, 2/100ths of a second, which got me a win and got me in the playoffs. Wish I had recorded that one, but we'll be recording moving forward. So, this is going to be the first race of the playoffs, so we're going to see what that looks like. But the first thing I want to show you is what I've been working on over the past week. So, Mr. Excel sheet, if you'll come on in. This is what I have been doing, trying to get the numbers the best I can for each track without spending a ton of time and game money. Because at first I thought, well, I'm just going to put everything on 100. You know, put the engine, the aero, and the suspension all on 100, and we'll be good to go. But it doesn't exactly work that way. Now you can see on the left-hand side here for the Cup Series, I haven't run a race in the Cup Series yet. So those are still blank. This is what I've been working on for the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series. So you can see there's, of course, engine, aero, and suspension. I've got the difficulty, whether it's hard or normal, and I think for Eldora I even used I forgot which level it was that was the most difficult. Legend difficulty. You can see here, let's look at the comment that I made. See, on Legend difficulty I finished second. I had 7th place speed in that race, but I finished second. So you can see, just because you set your numbers up a certain way doesn't mean that you're going to get the most competitive race every single time at every single track. I'll give you some examples here. Like Atlanta, I set up my engine at 94, the aero at 90, and the suspension at 90, and I ended up finishing that race in second using the hard difficulty. Now, if you look at the notes that I made, 95, 95, 95 on Legend, I finished 9th. So we changed it to 94, 90, 90, and put it on the hard difficulty, and I finished second. From there, you can kind of play around with it. Okay, do I want to finish top 5? Do I want to win every race? Do I want to finish top 10? You can gauge where you're potentially going to finish by the numbers that you use. So you guys are free to look at my chart. You're free to set up your numbers the same way, but there will be differences because I'm a decent sim racer or video game racer. I don't consider myself an expert. So my experience is going to be different than yours because I'm sure you drive differently than I do. So you might have more experience or a little bit less experience. So you might have to change your numbers. These are just the numbers that work for me. So again, this is Xfinity and this is Truck. And you can definitely pause the video to look for each track, which is on the left-hand side, and see how it works for you. Now, if you see these black lines here, the black lines mean the series doesn't run there. Don't worry about the ones on the Cup side. I got to get those figured out. But for the Xfinity Series, I don't believe they run the Canadian Tire track. The Truck Series, I don't believe they run Auto Club. And I could have one or two missing, but I believe this is pretty much correct. Now, you can see Canadian Tire for the Truck Series is still blank. I just bought a truck, a road racing truck, because I didn't have one before. That's the hard part. Once you get up into your 4th or 5th vehicle, they are crazy expensive. I believe right now for Xfinity, it's like $2.3 million to get another car, because I believe I have 3 right now. So what I want to do is find that balance between not having to spend too much time and energy and having a good racing experience. So what if the difficulty is on Legend or Hard or Normal? If you're finishing top 5 and battling for wins, who cares what level it's on? If you can't find that balance you're looking for on Legend, then go down to Hard difficulty. Go down to Normal difficulty. And something I wanted to mention real quick about the brakes. I have found when I push on the brake pedal, the car or truck darts to the left, and it seems really weird. Once I got the suspension up to 90, that really stopped happening as much. It still happens a little bit, but I think what 704 is trying to do is simulate having decent truck parts or car parts versus having really good ones. If you have really good ones, top-notch equipment, your car is going to perform, or your truck's going to perform better. So once I got up to around 90 on the suspension, the tapping the brake and having it lunge to the left really dissipated. So that was a good thing. But, excuse me, Mr. Excel sheet. We're going to get back into this, and you can see here what's coming up. And let me push the button so we can see where we are in the standings. So you can see right now we're 8th in the standings, and luckily enough we got there by winning the last race. So we are 8th, and we are going to look toward the next race, and the next one is going to be at Bristol. So if I bring in Mr. Excel sheet again, then we're going to look at Bristol on our Excel sheet, and it's going to say 91, 91, 91 on hard difficulty. I won by 3 seconds. So, but if I'm at 94, 95, 95 on Legend, I finish in 15th. So I need to find something in the middle of that somewhere. So I'm going to come back and see what I figured out, and we're going to try that for our first race. My goal is not to win every race, but my goal is also not to finish 20th every race. I want to get a mixture of wins, top 5s, top 10s, and if I make a mistake, then I finish 15th. So let me take a look at this, and I'll be back in just a minute, and we'll get ready for our first race. Alright, so you can see that we are going to start our first race at Bristol. So here's my settings that I have. I was on the hard difficulty, and I tried that, but it was way too easy. So I put it on Legend difficulty, and it is going to be on 84, 84, 83 on Legend difficulty. Now, I know that says 90s, but I had already set up my short track car, but it was too powerful for what I'm looking to do, so I had to use the speedway car, and it ended up making some of the things not so good, knocking it down to 84, 84, 83 on Legend difficulty. So we're going to try this race. I have no idea how this is going to go. Once you have it on the spreadsheet and you have it in place, then you can see how things are going to turn out. But until you do that, you just don't know. So let's go qualify and see how we do.
Hammer down.
I'm going to get out here and qualify and see how well I do. Now, again, I tried this on the hard difficulty, and it was just way too easy. For me, anytime I qualify, like 1st through 5th, it's going to be an easy race. They still haven't got the qualifying set up to match.
All right, now, just like practice, qualifying count. Here we go.
But if it's set up where you're qualifying on the pole or top 5, you're going to pretty much dominate the race, unless you know of a way to make the qualifying more synced up with how it really is.
All right, time's up.
So we're going to start in 10th, and that's respectable. anytime you're starting somewhere, I'd say between 8th and 13th for qualifying, you're going to have a pretty decent car and you're going to have a pretty competitive race. So let's see how we do.
Starter has the green flag in his hand. Almost ready.
Now for this race, I did make it 13% for the truck series. I try to make those races a little bit shorter. Now for the Xfinity series, I made the playoffs in that series 2. So I make those a little bit longer and I do the stages.
You got room, you're clear there. Looking inside now.
Whoa, try to stay on the track here.
Looking inside now.
It's pretty competitive though. I'm really happy with how 704 did the AI. I mean, if they're faster or if they're as fast as you, they're not just going to back off when you pass. Oh, and there goes the wall. They're not just going to back off when you pass them. They're going to do what they need to do.
Still there?
They're going to stay behind you, so I like that. Again, this is on Legend difficulty. 84, 84, 83 on the settings for the engine, aero, and suspension. Those numbers are where you can dial in how competitive you want it to be. If you can figure out those numbers, and like I do, keep an Excel sheet, keep a notepad. That way you'll always know, because the AI aren't going to change. And you can also tell for the tire wear. I have it on 1X, and I have a theory about that. And a lot of my theories don't usually work out, but I'm going to try this one. My thought process is, you can see when the vehicles go around the track, the AI, they never get loose, they never get off track, they never get out of their groove or out of their groove of their tires. They never bobble.
We got 20 more laps.
Well, when we as the player, when our tires start to go away, the car gets loose, so we lose grip. And we have to, we move around differently than we did at the start of the race. The AI, they move around the exact same way from the beginning to the end. So I don't think true tire fall off is built into the game. I think the AI is predetermined to fall off a certain amount per lap over a run. But I don't think their tires actually wear.
Stay on the bottom.
Behind the scenes, I don't think they actually wear down, because you don't see the AI get out of control, get loose because of their worn tires. I think they just have predetermined fall off times. So I want to be as synced up with the AI as I can, so I put it on 1X so that hopefully I'm not all crazy loose and all over the racetrack, but the AI is stuck in their lane and riding in their line, and they look like everything is going great. The only thing they're doing differently is slowing down. But inevitably, if you as the player, your tires are going to wear and you're going to start sliding all over the track. Well, the AI doesn't do that.
Still there?
And I can't change that for the AI, so I have to change it for myself. Not that I don't like being loose. I love it. I love wrestling the car, but the AI don't have to wrestle their cars. They can just continue to ride around the track. They don't have to worry about being loose in the center, being loose off, being tight. They run the same, pretty much predetermined areas on the racetrack. They just slow down a little bit to simulate tire fall off, but I don't think the tires really fall off. So that's why I'm doing the 1X thing,
Halfway of this lap.
to try to keep me in line with the AI. Now you can see I'm not really moving up very much, so the Legend difficulty for me is obviously working pretty decently. I'd like to be doing a little bit better, of course. But if I want to do a little bit differently, then I can change the engine, the aero, and the suspension numbers, and I'll either go a little bit faster or I'll go a little bit slower. So that's how I'm going to do it moving forward. I'll have my Excel sheet, and I can determine how well or how decent I do. But you can also use that to your advantage, and I could easily say, well, I've got to win this race to move on to the next round. Let me just change the numbers a little bit so that I know I'm going to win. You know, I think you're cheating yourself if you do that. Sure, I'll change the numbers a little bit, you know, to see if I can battle with the AI to get a top 5, maybe get a win, but I'm not going to change the numbers so much that I know I'm going to win the race, because that's not fair. Like the last race, I had to win that race at Michigan to get in the playoffs. So the last time I ran that race, I finished second one time, and I finished fourth another time. I changed the numbers. I think I changed the aerodynamics by 1 from 96 and put it on 97 or something like that. Left everything else the same and won the race by 2/100ths of a second. That's what I like. So you can set it up however you like, but it works. That's what works for me. So we don't. Oh, Moffitt gonna take a little spin there.
Back it down.
I'm gonna give him his spot back. I think that'd be the fair thing to do. I know that all's fair in love and NASCAR, but I'm gonna give him his spot back because I didn't mean to run into him there. So it looks like this is pretty much where we're gonna end up. But I love Bristol. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I'm just starting to learn the road courses. I just got a road course truck. So the road course, I think it's Canadian Tire Motorsports part. Run some laps there to try to get a feel, because that's the one in the playoffs. I've never run that track, so obviously I don't want to blow the field away and win the race easy and move on to the next round. I want it to be somewhat competitive. I think I ran like a 1:23 there or something like that was my fastest lap. The only thing I do differently, I don't go into the setup and change anything. All I do is, for the short tracks, I go all the way to the loose setting and then I go back down 1. For the speedways, I go all the way to the loose setting and I go back down by 2. For some tracks, you have to go back down by 3, because once that final stage starts, you're too loose to do anything. So that's why I take notes, so I can remember what I did last time. So that's kind of how I do it. This looks like where we're going to end up for this race anyway. Now, I made these playoffs, and I made the Xfinity playoffs too. So we're going to run both sets of playoffs. And hopefully by the time next season starts, we might have enough money to get an Xfinity road course car, but that's $2.3 million. And I'm going to finish in 10th. So there's that. That was a pretty decent race. I was worried that I would either end up winning the race or I'd finish 25th. So 10th, I can live with that. And now that I know on Legend difficulty those numbers will get me a 10th place, I'll boost them up a little bit and see if I can get a top 5. So that's where we are with that. Did pretty good. Hopefully I'll make it into the next round. It's not looking too great so far, but we'll see if we can make it into the next round. Let's take a look at where we are in the standings at the moment. So I finished 10th, got some fans. Things are going okay. I wish once you got more along in the game, you got money a little bit faster, because it takes a long time to get that 4th or 5th car. There's old Clay. That's my buddy.
Hey, you've been doing such a great job lately. We might have you come drive for our team.
Well, thanks, Clay. I think I'll think about that. I got my own team though. So let's take a look and see where we are in the points, and we'll get out of here for the day. Sorry I haven't made some videos in a while. I really wanted to get into this title, and if you're going to watch the videos, I want them to be fun and be competitive, not just me blowing the field away. So you can see we're in 6th. So come on back for the next race and we'll see how we do.